So, one thing that comes up a lot, or that came up a lot in seeking, is the idea of effort and doing things for a result, attempting to manipulate experience, uh, all that sort of thing. A sort of internalized attempt to regulate the experience or make things better or sort of micromanage emotions and this type of thing. And again, this always brings us back to the same thing, that all of that assumes that there's a self in here that could do that. There's a self who could exert effort or not. There's a self that can manipulate the experience or not. And so, of course, the main thing is the seeing that there isn't that self present to do that or not do it. So there's a movement. It's like, do I try harder or do I not try? Do I rest or do I try to push through something? And it becomes very subtle, and it's an internalized happening. So it becomes very intimate. No one else can see it, really, because it's all in here. It's all mind, emotion, uh, feelings of energy, and it's very much an intimate sort of thing, because this is the only thing that's visible. The facial expressions and all that, but the internal thing becomes very interesting when we look into spirituality. What's going on inside me, and I'm really uh, worried about what's happening inside me. And I have to make sure it's right. I have to make sure that my emotions are all right, and that my thoughts are thinking right or something, and that I'm sort of on the right track with this stuff. That I'm seeing through myself properly, or and there's it's almost like it's like the Advaita paranoia. It's like trying to make sure that I'm being the good seeker, being the good boy or good girl in the search, trying to get all my T's crossed and all my I's dotted in my endeavor for enlightenment, which can never be had. You know, would anyone walking down the street think that this thing here is enlightened? That was one of the expectations, that all of a sudden there'll be an explosion, and then people, where did that explosion come from? Oh, that kid, this guy, he's enlightened now. Wow, look at him, everyone. Look at this guy. He must be enlightened. Oh wow, and it's very much crazy, because there's no such thing as anything separate to be enlightened. So there's no separation from enlightenment or non-enlightenment, or a person to have it either way. So there's no person to be unenlightened, therefore no person to be enlightened at the end of something. You could say that what is enlightenment. That's all. This is enlightenment, but it's not for anything. It's not an accumulated thing. There's no carrying over in it. There's no progress needed. There's no one to do any of that. There is seeing, and that's it. The awareness that sees. That's all. And in that, a person can arise or not. And it's that simple. It's this simple. It's as simple as what currently is. But if the need arises, there can be a deep investigation into that which thinks it's separate. And it's as simple as that. It's not hard. It can feel hard. It can feel very difficult in looking deeply in this way, because it's very threatening to that which feels that it could be threatened. But even that one is just an appearance. Even the deep-seated fearful one who's so worried about its existential crisis that it's always happening, even that one is just an appearance. It's all appearance. And the entanglement in the appearance is also appearance. So it gets very, very simple, because it's not as though there's someone that can walk around making sure that they realize that everything is just appearance. It's not like there's someone in here who can say, oh, okay, well, don't worry, this body's just appearance. Oh, good. What about that? Oh, that's just appearance. What about my thoughts? Oh, thoughts are just appearance. But the one who would talk about appearance is also appearance. So it's very simple because this isn't something abstract. We're not dealing in abstractions in this. We're dealing with immediacy. We're dealing with something that's very intimate and very immediate. It's the most intimate and most immediate, in fact. And it's just right here. It's just this. And it doesn't matter what happens. You could say freedom is in the seeing that it doesn't matter what arises because it's all of the same substance. So, and that includes, well, all means all, you know? It's not, I mean, as a seeker, there's tendencies to exclude. It's the paradigm of exclusion. I'm excluding what I don't like, even if it's me, even if it's something right close to who I think I am. There's an exclusion. I don't like that. I'm not gonna look there. I don't like that. There's a skeleton in my closet, maybe. I don't want to look there. So I'm saying that this is not, I don't want that to be what I am. So that becomes what you could call the shadow or the repressed nature or whatever. And that will continually be there. It doesn't disappear because me and my wisdom decided to ignore it or shun it. So that'll continually operate, you know, whatever it is. And it doesn't matter to get too specific into these little details and all these subtopics. It's not important. What's important is the seeing that there's that root concept, that root belief, and that sensation of being a separate self is only that. And that can require a deep investigation. And what can happen is there can be distractions into subcategories or important other issues that need to be resolved first, either internally or externally, apparently. Because there really is no internal or external. There's only one presence. So it's very simple. It can feel difficult, but it's not as complicated as the mind will always want to make it. The mind doesn't like simplicity because it's the end. The mind ends in simplicity, which is what death, that's the imagined death. Death is imaginary in that sense because the one imagining death is imaginary. So death is a learned concept, and the fear is just another thing happening. And there's awareness of that. There's a behindness to that too. The fearful one is seen, or the guilty one, or the prideful one. You know, the suffering one is seen as appearance. And that's evident already. It's just that there's a lot of attention that goes into this concept, this construct, even though that construct isn't real or stable. It's not there in deep sleep, and it's not there right now, in fact. In imagination, it can seem to be there right now, but imagination is it's pretty self-evident what imagination is. It's the imaginary self. And it seems to be a friend at times, and a lot of times it seems to be an enemy, but all the time it's imaginary. You could say that's the one constant about this self-concept, is that it's always imaginary. It's never actual. Actual meaning, you could say, it's never always the case. It's always simply changing concepts that have no inherent stability. So it's never the same person twice, in a sense, the concept. And in seeing the ephemeral nature of that, and also in seeing that it's not always there, even as imagination, you could say there's a translucence that happens, or a transparency. So the validity of that concept isn't there, even though the concept may happen, and that doesn't matter because it's all simply appearance. So thanks again for listening, and feel free to email, and I love you.